Very good afternoon, all my dear Tybcom students, and welcome to the lecture of Advanced Accounting and Auditing, Paper 6. This is Professor Shaurya Shah welcoming you all to my lecture. Dear students, as you all are aware, in the last lecture, we started with the chapter of fund flow analysis and fund flow statement, right? We saw certain theory parts, certain principles, and the formats of all the three statements, right? Today also, further, we'll be discussing few important key points regarding your sums solving so that you are able to solve the sums easily. I hope you all must have got the PDF on the notes and the theory for the same, right? I have given you two notes today, students. One is for the chapter of ratio analysis, that is the theory of ratio analysis and the sums, whatever we have done till now, and few of the practice sums for your own practice, right? Again, from that, as I have already announced, right, on Saturday in your lecture, there will be a quiz, right? So this quiz will be having certain 5 to 7 short sums related to your ratio analysis, right? It will be between the time of your lecture only. What you need to do is I'll be providing you the question of the sum and there will be 4 options in that, right? So you need to enter the answer of your particular sum and select from there, and the scores you will be getting immediately, right? So it will be again a revision of ratio analysis and I'll come to know how much you all have understood, right? So again, announcing Saturday, there will be a quiz for your ratio analysis chapter, and regular lecture, it will not be there, right? So quiz is itself a lecture for you. Fine. I hope it is clear. And this notes I have already provided you. You must have read it also. Fine. So for your understanding, you can see it. Fine. Okay. Now starting with today's part, students, fund flow statement. As we saw in the last lecture, only all the theory part, right? That fund flow includes mainly 3 parts. That is, one is statement showing changes in working capital. That is current assets and current liabilities, increase or decrease. Second is your profit and loss adjustment account, right? In that you particularly give the effect of various kinds of non-cash items or non-asset items, right? Which particularly affects the fund flow. And the third and the last is your fund flow statement, students, right? Fund flow statement, we saw various kinds of sources and application of fund, which happens due to changes in certain effects of your balance sheet, right? So today we'll be seeing one sum, right? It is purely for our understanding how the questions are asked in university and what are the key points you need to remember. If you remember these key points, your half of the chapter is almost done. Fine. So before starting with the sums, I need to make you clear with these points, right? So as you can see, students, the very first logic you need to understand is when liabilities increases, it is a source of fund, right? Yesterday only I gave you the following examples, right? Either it can be again increase in capital, it can be again if you incur a liability, you are getting the money out of it, right? You are getting capital out of it. So that is why liability is increasing, so it is a source of fund. When asset increases, it is an application of fund, right? Definitely I gave you two names of your balance sheet also, that one is your source of fund, that is related to your liability side, and application of fund, that is related to your asset side, right? So whenever you purchase any assets or asset is increased, it is an application of fund, right? So remember, students, whenever in the sum, this all points we'll be discussing today in the sum what we are going to do, right? So for that you need to remember. So understand the simple logic: liability increase, source of fund; asset increase, application of fund. Next is again a brief list of funds I have given it to you, right? This will be the generally list which is there in your sum. Fine. So your sum will have the following things. Every sum will be same only, right? With the sum changes in adjustment. So relate this with point one and remember sources of funds: increase in capital. Either it can be increase in equity capital, either it can be increase in preference capital, right? So any type of increase in capital is your source of fund. Remember, fine. Again, any type of decrease in fund is your application, right? Always remember vice versa also, because in many sums it will be given that capital is increased, in many sum it will be given that capital is decreased, right? So that you need to understand. So increase in capital is a source, decrease in capital is a application. Borrowing or incurring a liability. Suppose you are borrowing a liability, you have issued debentures, so it is a source. Suppose you have paid the debenture, then it is a application. Suppose you have increased the creditors, then it is a source. Suppose you have decreased the creditors, then it is a, again we can say, application, right? So any money received which comes in the business is a source. Any money which goes out or any fund which goes out, right, that is again application. Profit from operations of business. This we will see when we solve the sum, students. It generally comes from your profit and loss adjustment account. Fine. Sale of fixed assets or investment. You all know, once you sell the fixed assets or the investment, then you receive the money out of it, right? So your entry becomes your bank or cash account debit to fixed assets or investment, right? So it is a source of fund for us. Again, exactly opposite. If you purchase the fixed asset, it is a application of fund. If you purchase an investment, it is a application of fund, right? Simple logic. In any transaction in the sum, you need to see is whether it is a source or application. And how do you decide it? Whether the fund is going out, then it is an application. If the fund is coming in, then it is a source, right? Then repayment of loans and debentures, right? So again, when you repay the loans and debentures, as I give you the example, this 4 is the vice versa of application, right? Again, if you pay the dividend in cash, it is a application. Again, operating losses. This both profit from operations and operating losses we will see when we see the format of your profit and loss adjustment account, right? So I hope this all basic things is clear to you all people, right? Now starting with the next part, that is format of changes in working capital, students, right? So format of changes in working capital, yesterday we saw, today we will see it in detail, right? It will be the same. Remember, there will be 5 columns, students. The first will be always written with current assets. You will start, that is the particulars. Then the next column will be your previous year. Then the next column will be your current year, right? So we will see the sum today also. There will be 2 balance sheets given to you, right? Balance sheets of 2 particular year. For example, yesterday I gave was 2019 and 2020, right? So that particular years you will be given, and you have to compare between both of them whether it is increase or decrease, right? We did this in detail. I gave you the examples also, so not going much in detail, but you need to understand current assets includes everything, students, right? It includes your cash at bank, cash in hand, that is cash at bank is bank balance, cash in hand, stock in trade, that is your closing stock, right? Not opening stock, it is your closing stock. Debtors, bills receivable. Debtors, you will be having some of the points of your bad debt reserve also, and some of the points of your bad debts also, so right? So this all minor points, whenever it will come in the sum, we will understand. Advance payment, that is your prepaid expenses, right? Short term investment, prepaid expenses, accrued income. So what you'll do is you will calculate here, write down the figures of the last year, write down the figure of the current year, see whether it is increase or decrease. Now I gave you 2 slogans in the last lecture, right? In the current assets, it is purely increase or decrease. For example, it is 100 here, it is 90 here, to write down 10 in decrease column, right? Suppose it is 150 here and it is 200 here, so write down 15 increase column. Purely write down whatever is the actual case. Exactly opposite is your current liability, students, right? Current liability, if previous year is 100, current year is 90, so 10 is decrease, but it is to be written in increase, right? Because it affects the working capital. These 2 columns are showing your actual working capital. I hope it is clear. In current liabilities, you write down short-term loans, bank overdraft, creditors, bills payable, outstanding expenses, or any unclaimed dividend which is there. Once you complete this, students, then we have to do the entire sum simultaneously, right? So once you complete this, you do the total of your A, that is your current assets, total of your B, that is current liabilities. You find out the actual net working capital, A minus B, and then you find out whether there is increase in working capital or decrease in working capital, right? So just now you need to remember the format only, but then when we will start with the sum, then we will see the actual working of the sum for it. Fine. I hope working capital statement is clear to each and everyone, right? Now starting with the next part, that is format of profit and loss adjustment account, right? So what is the format of profit and loss adjustment account, dear students? It is same like your profit and loss account, right? Only the name is P&L adjustment account, means you need to do certain adjustments in particular profit and loss account, right? So what you will do here is, on the debit side, all the things which you write in your P&L account, right? So that you will write, that is depreciation. If it is there, as such depreciation is not a fund flow, right? Whatever particulars we are writing in this account is not related to any kind of fund flow from your business, either inflow or either outflow, right? So all this particulars which does not affect the fund flow are written here, which affects the profit but no fund flow. So depreciation is written here, loss on sale of fixed assets if any, right? So this all you will come to know from the ledger accounts which you are preparing for particular assets, right? And the next is your underwriting commission. Underwriting commission means the commission which you pay to the underwriters for again giving your issue. When you issue the shares, you need to pay commission to various people, right students? So that is underwriting commission. Next is discount on issue of shares and debentures, right? Whatever discount you are having for shares and debentures, you will write down here. Preliminary expenses which are to be written off, right? So any expenses which you write off. Deferred revenue expenditures, that is including your advertisement, suspense and all. Goodwill written off, patent or trademark, provision for taxes, right? This is the most important thing, provision for taxes. Again, you will prepare a separate ledger account for the same, right? Now profit or gain on the sale of fixed assets. Here you write down loss, here you write down profit, right? Again, if any dividend is received from various other companies, you write down here. Interest received on investments is an income, so you write down here. Profit on revaluation of asset, you write down here, right? In addition, right, you will write down two more things in this account which I have not mentioned here, right? Remember students very well. In your sum, profit and loss will be given, profit and loss account will be given in reserves and surplus, right? So that profit and loss you will write down here. Opening balance will be always written on the credit side. Closing balance of P&L given in balance sheet will be always written on the debit side, right? So close opening balance plus all this minus closing balance, whatever the difference will come, that will be either funds from operation or loss from operation, right? If it is more, then it will be profit, or if it is less, then it will be loss. I hope it is clear. So that is what we saw here in the point which I told you, that is your profit from operations or loss from operations, right? So this is what you get particularly from your profit and loss adjustment account. I hope it is clear, right? So that funds from operation you will write down in your fund flow statement. Done. First is working capital statement. Second is your profit and loss adjustment account. The third is your format of fund flow statement, the very important thing, right? Here, as I told in the previous lecture, that there are two methods of preparing fund flow statement. One is horizontal one and second is vertical format, right? But in order to avoid the confusion, in reference books also we follow, right? So in that particularly your horizontal format is only followed, right? In your university solutions also horizontal format is followed. So what we'll do is we'll prepare this fund flow statement according to this method only, so it is easy for you people also, right? So issue of share capital, all the sources of funds which we have studied till now students, right? So that particular sources of funds will be written on this side. It can be any fund, issue of share capital, raising of term loan, sale of fixed assets, interest received, dividend received, refund of taxes, right? Interest received, dividend received will be here also and will be written on the credit side of P&L adjustment also, right? Depends upon the sum. Just now you remember the entire format, fine? Decrease in working capital, this is what we answer which we get from the very first step, that is working capital statement. I hope it is clear. Then here on the application, either you redeem preference shares, you redeem debentures, you pay long term loans, you again purchase fixed assets. So anything which in the fund goes outflow, so that is included on the application of the funds, right? Again, if it is an increase in working capital, you have to write down on application. Is it clear? So all three formats, I suppose it is clear. Now when we start with the sum, students, right, I'll provide you all the sums very well in advance. So you should be ready with the format well in advance, right? Because this three will remain the same in each and every sum. Working capital statement, then profit and loss, and format of fund flow statement, right? What you need to do is you need to prepare the format. You don't need to write down any of the particulars either in working capital statement or in P&L or in again this fund flow statement. It should be blank, should be with the title, should be with the source, amount, application and amount, right? And leave enough space for that. After you complete all these three, you need to prepare certain ledger accounts also, right? This certain ledger accounts are to be prepared for various adjustments which will be given in the sum. So whatever adjustments are given, for that you will be preparing individual ledger accounts, right? That will be seen. Fine. So again, there will be certain particulars. Adjustments will remain fixed. Remember students, there will be around 6 to 7 adjustments related to fixed particulars which you are having. So that will remain the same in each and every sum. You just need to understand each and every point. Fine. So moving ahead, interim dividend, right? What is interim dividend, students? Interim dividend is the dividend which is paid in the mid of the year, right? You have three kind of dividend. You have proposed dividend. This is the dividend which very first time the company proposes. We have studied this in final accounts also last year. Interim dividend is the dividend which is paid during the time period of 2 financial years, right? 2 meetings. And the next is your final dividend. This is the dividend which is in addition paid to your interim dividend. For those companies who are not paying it, they pay final dividend, right? So we are concerned here with interim dividend. Remember students, any interim dividend paid during the year. The most important point here is during the year. You have to check whether it is paid during the year or not. Will have two effects. One, it will appear as an application of funds in fund flow statement as we saw just now, right? It is again application of fund, that is dividend paid in fund flow statement. Fine. And the second, it will be debited to profit and loss adjustment account. It will be debited to profit and loss adjustment account. Fine. So here you will write down the dividend which is paid. Is it clear? Here it is dividend received. So dividend paid will be written here. I hope it is clear. So two effects for interim dividend. These are the key points for solving the sum. I have taken out key points from entire chapter so that if you remember this thing, your majority of the sums will be solved very easily. Proposed dividend. The previous year's proposed dividend should be always paid and will appear in the application side of fund flow statement, right? That is on the application side of fund flow statement. Dividend paid, which is this dividend, proposed dividend. Always remember the story for proposed dividend, right? Pay the dividend of the last year and propose it for the current year. I hope it is clear. Pay the dividend of the last year and again create it for current year. That is proposed dividend story, right? So first effect will be on the application side, and the current year's proposed dividend should be debited in P&L adjustment account. Why debited? Because it is just proposed, right? So proposed dividend is an expense for us, and that will write down on the P&L adjustment debit side. Is it done, all of you? Fine. So moving ahead with the next part, as I told you, there will be two important things in your profit and loss adjustment account. One, on the credit side will be writing the opening balance, and the second on the debit side will be writing the closing balance, which is given in the balance sheet. Now students, in many of the sums, whatever we'll see right now, do not consider the net profit which is given for the current year. Now there will be one of the adjustment for sure, in which the net profit of current year will be given, right? So whatever method we are following, why this is given, this is for those who are not preparing profit and loss adjustment account and directly they are giving the effect of profit. But as I told you, we are not genius people, so we will again prepare the profit and loss adjustment account for sure, and for that we do not require this, right? So again, remember in mind, whenever you see this point in adjustment, ignore it. Only write the opening and closing balance of the profit and loss appropriation given in your balance sheet in the sums that we will see. Again, the last and the most important thing. Once you prepare these three important formats, working capital statement, fund flow statement, and your profit and loss adjustment account, you need to prepare certain ledger accounts, right? This may depend upon the sum and the adjustments, whatever we are there, but this is including either fixed assets. In fixed assets, you need to prepare the account in order to find out the depreciation, in order to find out the purchase of assets, in order to find out the sale of assets, right? Because on the fixed assets, debit side we write down opening balance, credit side we write down closing balance. Depreciation is written on the credit side, right? And again, purchase if any is written on debit side, sale if any is written on credit side. So some of the figures will be missing in the sum. So in order to find out, you need to find out fixed assets. You need to prepare in working compulsory. Debtors account. Debtors account, debit side we write down opening balance, credit side we write down closing balance, debit side we write down credit sales, credit side we write down either discount, either bad debts, or either money received, right? So debtors account. Provision for tax, provision for last year, provision for current year, investment account, general reserve, etc., and any other equity share capital, preference share capital, or debentures, right? So all this ledger accounts you need to prepare in addition to this. This will form your complete 14 marks sum, students. I hope it is clear to each and everyone, right? So in the last lecture, we started with theory. Again, I wanted to relate this part with your practical sums. That's why I've taken an additional lecture for this, right? So I hope you all are clear with this part of the key points which are needed to solve the sum, right? Now today we'll be seeing only one sum for your understanding how the sums comes in your exam. It is a university sum, right? VNSU 2018, which we'll be solving in the later part of our lecture, right? It is a complete traditional sum which comes for your fund flow, includes your entire chapter. But we will not be solving this first. As you can see, it is only for understanding. So today we'll be discussing this sum. Next lecture is your quiz, and on again the next lecture we'll be starting with the sum which I will give you very well in advance. So you need to be ready with the formats with all these three, and you need to leave the space for particular accounts, right? As you can see, students, from the balance sheet of Alpha Company Limited given below, prepare statements showing changes in working capital, adjusted P&L account. They have already told you in exam, and fund flow statement, right? So this three they have told. In addition, for our working, we need to prepare various accounts, right? So we'll see balance sheet of 31st March 2016 and 31st March 2017 is given. What has been given on the balance sheet? Equity share capital is given. It is fully paid up. This adjustments will also be there, right? Check whether it is fully paid up or partly paid up. 10% redeemable preferences. Now, how to read the sum, students? When you read the sum, see the figures also, right? Whether it is changing, whether it is remaining the same, whether it is increasing or decreasing. So that will help you out to prepare the accounts, right? Equity share capital was 8 lakh, became 16 lakh. So immediately it should come to your mind that new equity share capital will be issued, right? It may be due to either of the reason. Don't be under impression that it bank to equity share capital will be the entry. No, there may be any other reason, but primarily we come to know that 8 lakh to 16 lakh it is done. So we will prepare one account of equity share capital. 10% redeemable preference shares, 100 each, 80 paid up, right? So 2,56,000 was there, and it is zero. That means that you must have redeemed the preference share capital, right? So first you need to call the money, make them fully paid up, and then you need to redeem it, right? Remember, whatever you have studied in SY BCom Corporate Semester 4, redemption of preference share capital is put up in one adjustment, right? Entire chapter is one adjustment for you. So that is why I say, if we see 6 long sums also, your entire chapter will be complete, right? But that 6 long sums should be very much rich so that you come to know each and every adjustment very well, right? Again, capital reserve 10,000 to 20,000, so it is increased, right? So for this each and every type of, again we can say particular, you need to prepare separate accounts, right? Again, capital redemption reserve, it was 0, it became 160. Securities premium, it was 32,000, became 0, right? So there will be adjustments related to each and every particular. Why I am focusing more on balance sheet? So that from the figures you come to know that there may be adjustments which are affecting each and everything, right? There is adjustment also which affects 4 or 5 particulars together. So you need to see general reserve 6 lakh to 760, 4 lakh to 5 lakh, 1 lakh. Debentures, it was 0, it became 1 lakh. Creditors were 80,000, became 1 lakh. Bills payable were 80,000, became 40,000. Proposed dividend was 120, increased to 160. Taxation 1 lakh 130. Depreciation fund 2 lakh 260, right? So on and so forth. So we will see it in detail when we solve the sum, but this is just for your information. Goodwill was 78,000, reduced to 30,000, right? So 48,000 goodwill is written off. Now again, first step is to analyze whether it is increase or decrease. Second step is to see in which particular statement you will be posting it. If it is a current asset, current liability, you will be posting it in working capital statement. If it is again related to such kind of goodwill written off, it will be posted in your profit and loss adjustment account, right? And if it is related to your assets and liabilities, it will be posted in your fund flow statement. Hope it's clear. Now this is what I was telling you students, 4 lakh and 5 lakh, right? So immediately from this I come to know that 4 lakh is my opening balance, 5 lakh is my closing balance. So my net profit for the year will be 1 lakh, 5 lakh minus 1 lakh. That will be given in adjustment, but we are not concerned with that. In your P&L account, credit side, you need to write down 4 lakh opening balance. In your P&L adjustment account debit side, you need to write down 5 lakh closing balance. Land is given, building is given, machinery is given, investments are given, data, stock, so and so, and share issue expenses are given, right? So again, from this also I come to know share issue expenses was 0, it became 36,000. So there may be new issues of equity share, right? So you need to continuously think and analyze when you are solving the fund flow sum, right? So again, in one lecture, we'll be solving one complete long sum, but you need to be very careful while you are solving this sums. Fine. If you are clear conceptually, it will be very easy and it will be fun for you all to solve the sums, right? We'll see the adjustment, students. What is it all about? This is the balance sheet. I hope you all are clear. Additional information is given. Now, machinery costing 40,000, accumulated depreciation 10,000 was sold for 36,000, right? So you need to prepare first of all a machine account for this, right? Once you prepare a machine account, you come to know this entry will be posted in this machine account, right? And then here it is affected. See, you can see 11 lakh became 14 lakh. So there will be certain adjustments also related to purchase of machinery. So this will affect my fund flow. Investment in shares of Mayank Limited was sold at a profit. The profit being credited to capital reserve. Now students, you are not knowing how much investments you have sold, right? How much, again, investment 20,000 you have sold, but at how much profit you are not knowing. They are saying the profit is credited to capital reserve, means 10,000 to 20,000 it became. So primarily I come to know that 10,000 difference is the profit on sale of shares, right? So shares may be sold at 30,000. We are not sure, but when we'll prepare the account, we'll come to know. Bonus shares were issued to existing equity shareholders in the ratio of 2:1 by capitalizing the required amount from general reserve. So you need to prepare certain accounts: machinery account, depreciation account, investment account, capital reserve account, then equity share capital account, general reserve account. So just remember students, there will be a list of 10 to 15 ledger accounts you need to prepare. On that basis, you need to post the entries simultaneously, right? Theoretically, it may look again a bit complicated, but it is not at all complicated if you are clear, right? So that we will solve the sum. Once sum we solve, your entire doubts will be clear. Fine. So the company issued right shares in the ratio of 5:1 to equity shareholders. So again, equity shareholders are affected, right? On total capital including bonus shares. So we will see the entire story of equity share capital. On 1/7/2016, the company called up the remaining amount on redeemable preference shares. As I told you students, from the balance itself I come to know that it is redeemed. So the company called up the remaining amount on redeemable preference shares, which was fully paid up. On 1/10/16, the redeemable preference shares were redeemed at premium of 15%. So your entire story of preference shares, right? So what accounts you will be preparing? Preference shareholders account, then you'll be preparing redemption premium account, securities premium account, and again equity shareholder is affected, right? Again students, remember fund flow statement and cash flow statement, 14 marks compulsory, it comes in your exam. So if you are clear, your 14 marks is very much done, and we'll be solving all the university sums. So again, one sum is equals to your half chapter, fine. So if you remember the points, then it is very much easy for you. Expenditure for issuing right shares was to be written off in 10 equal installment, right? What is this expenditure? This expenditure is share issuing expenses. So this is to be written in 10 equal installment, means this year we'll be writing off 3,600, right? I hope it is done. And the last is taxation liability of 80,000 and dividend on equity share was previous year was paid. So this is the point which I gave you, dividend on equity shares for previous year. So what entry? Pay the previous year's dividend and propose if any if given in the question, and taxation liability is 80,000. So that affects my provision for taxation also, right? So this is just for your knowledge, students. This kind of sums will be asked in your again exams, right? 14 marks. This is October, November 2018. So I hope you all must have understood the sums at least 50%, right? So what I'm thinking is to give you this sum only, right? Next on Saturday, your lecture will be a quiz for ratio analysis. You need to solve the sums on your own and then you need to post the answers. Fine. Within the quiz itself, you will be getting the score. On the next lecture of mine, that is of TYBCom, right? So what we'll do is we will solve this sum only. So what you need to do is you need to prepare the format of working capital statement, blank format, fund flow statement, profit and loss adjustment account, and then you need to prepare certain ledger accounts, right? So ledger accounts will be preparing during the lecture only. You need to prepare around 9 to 10 again ledger accounts. So simultaneously you can do that part, but three formats you should keep with you as ready, right? So we'll be solving this sum only so that it is a complete understanding. You have understood the sum, so it will be easy for you to solve the sum. Fine. And one difficult sum will do, then entire chapter is easy. I hope it is clear to each and everyone, right? So notes I have already provided you for ratio analysis and for this chapter also, including theory. Start reading it, students. Practice your sums every day. If possible, arrange for the books from the market if it is available. If not, then there is no issue. I am providing you all the sums, whatever we are practicing, and other sums also, right? So again, you can do your practice at your home. Try to make a habit of solving one sum every day, either it is of ratio or fund flow. Now we are doing fund flow, so do the practice of fund flow also and ratio also, right? I hope it is clear to each and every student. So we'll conclude our lecture here, students, right? Again, best of luck for your quiz. Easy sums I have asked, whatever we have done in the class related to that, so that you can practice it with the help of formula. It will also include certain theory so that you are clear with that part also. Fine. So that's all for today's lecture, students. Any doubts, any queries, you can post in Google Classroom any point of time. We are there to help you out. Thank you very much, students. Have a great day ahead. See you in the next lecture soon. This is Professor Shaurya Shah teaching you Advanced Accounting and Auditing Paper 6 TYBCom. Thank you for your attention.